for me and it blocks the ones that need to be blocked.
And now how many?
I'm getting 0 spam calls because of RoboKiller.
RoboKiller. Live life spam call free.
In Nashville, Tennessee, all the evidence is in and the arguments have been made, and it is time for the jury to speak. Did Michael Mosley murder 2 men outside of a Nashville bar, or did he kill in self-defense?
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder.
In Sarasota, Florida, Gabby Petito's parents have sued Brian Laundrie's parents for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Now, the Laundrie's attorney has responded, saying they were exercising their right to remain silent.
You know something, and the fact that you're hiding behind your attorney doesn't make any sense to us.
On the docket tonight in Fairfax County, Virginia, movie star Johnny Depp getting ready for his upcoming trial on Court TV. Depp is suing his ex, Amber Heard, for defamation after she accused him of domestic violence.
I was hitting you. It was not punching you.
Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched.
Plus, tonight's 13th juror question, can Johnny Depp get his reputation back if he wins his defamation case against Amber Heard? Buckle your seatbelts. This hour of closing arguments starts right now. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. You know, every once in a while, it's a good idea just to take a step back and take a look at what we do day in and day out inside courtrooms across America and what the purpose of all of this is. You know, why do we have trials? We don't have trials for political purposes. We don't have trials to send a message. We don't have trials because of some agenda someone has. We have trials to get to the truth. The truth. That's what it's all about. Jury's got to see and hear the evidence and figure out and tell us what the truth is. And yeah, we have our own opinions. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. But ultimately, the truth is determined by the jury. And that's really what it's all about. Because you have two sides going at it. They don't agree about what happened. And someone's got to win, someone's got to lose. And one side's truth wins out in all of this. Now, in the trial we've been watching out of Nashville, the barroom brawl that spilled down to the street, Michael Mosley, accused of murdering 2 people. Mosley was charged with the murder of 2 people, right? So what's his defense? His defense was self-defense. He wasn't saying somebody else stabbed these 3 men, killing 2. No. I did it, but I did it because it was self-defense. That was his version of the truth, which was much different than what prosecutors were saying to this jury about what really happened that night. So, getting back now to the role of our courtrooms to get to the truth, because it's not just Mosley and what his truth is. There are victims in this case, and this is a murder case. So you have two young men who aren't alive. They couldn't get inside that courtroom. They couldn't get up on the stand and tell this jury what happened. They couldn't do it. They were both killed by Mosley. But this trial is about them. It's not just about him and his version. It's about the victims, Clay Bethard, Paul Trapani, and what happened to them outside of that bar that night. And there was a 3rd victim. He survived. He was able to come into that courtroom and testify. So he was able to get his version, his truth in front of the 12 men and women. And today was the day. It didn't take long. It didn't take long for this jury. They're out like less than an hour after hearing the evidence, hearing the testimony, seeing the videos of what happened that night. They spoke clearly and they spoke loudly. Take a listen.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
Yes, ma'am.
If you will please stand, and if you will read the verdict, please.
The State of Tennessee versus Michael David Mosley. Verdict form. We, the jury, find the defendant, Michael David Mosley, count 1, first-degree murder upon the alleged victim, Clayton King III, guilty of first-degree murder. Count 2, first-degree murder upon the alleged victim, Paul Douglas Trapani III, guilty of first-degree murder. Count 3, attempted first-degree murder upon the alleged victim, Alva J. Bethurum, guilty of attempted first-degree murder. And count 4, assault upon the alleged victim, Samuel Folks, guilty of assault.
You know, you can talk about his reaction or a lack of reaction, but this is someone who's been in courtrooms before, already serving time, by the way. It was another attack that was caught on video. The person he was attacking was accused of murdering his brother, so I don't know, maybe there's a story behind that as well. But he's used to it. He knows the drill, so to speak. But it seemed like it was a lot more difficult on the foreperson. And we have to remember, as you know, we're taking a look at the big picture tonight. Let's not forget about those jurors. Ordinary folks who get a notice in the mail have no idea what they're going to have to decide. And in this case, they had to decide that this man was a murderer, and he's going to spend the rest of his life behind bars. Let's get more insight into what happened down there today. Court TV legal correspondent Julie Janae joining us live tonight from Nashville, Tennessee. Julie, great to see you. Let's start with reaction first. Reaction to this verdict. Watching here, we saw the defendant. We heard the foreperson. What can you tell us?
Hey, Vinny, that's right. That foreperson, she had really the most emotion inside of that courtroom. It was unlikely to me because during this trial, she took those copious notes. She looked very astute sitting there in the gallery, really didn't show much reaction to some of the really grisly details that was shared by the prosecution compared to some of her other jurors there on the panel. But once she read this verdict, she's a mother of 5 who works in the housing authority. Her voice was breaking. She was holding back tears as she read the names of the victims. You could see that this case affected her, and it spoke volumes that they were inside of that jury room really only around an hour after their lunch before they came back with those 4 counts of guilty. We also saw a lot of emotion from Mosley's sister, who was in the gallery, on the side of the gallery that we were able to point our cameras at. She was sobbing throughout this. She told us before this verdict came in that all of this has been compounded by that outstanding homicide case for the death of their brother back in 2016. So this just added to that tragedy for her family. And then on the other side of the gallery, where we were asked not to point our cameras, but then once they were able to leave the courtroom, we could see them hugging the family of Paul Trapani, Clay Bethard, A.J. Bethurum in the courtroom while that verdict is being read, and embraced by all of those people who were there every day of this trial. And it felt like a reunion inside of that courtroom every day in the gallery with the way they supported each other. And today, they were silent in their reaction to justice prevailing for their loved one.
Absolutely. You know, in moments like this, I always think about the alternative. If the jury came back not guilty, how devastating that would be for these families. It's already devastating, but that would be, you know, to use a couple cliches, insult to injury, salt in the wound, however you want to say it. But they did get a sense of justice tonight. How about the prosecutor in this case? Did the prosecutor speak afterwards?
Prosecutor Jan Norman, we know her from another Court TV trial, the Waffle House murder trial, where she was able to get a successful conviction. Today, again, a successful conviction against the defendant. She pours so much emotion into her closing arguments, her opening statement, connecting with the jury in that way. And we did hear from her about why this was not a self-defense case and what they expect for this defendant going forward.
This is 100% Michael Mosley.
Yeah.
Michael Mosley did this. This all happened because of him. There's not one thing that a single one of those victims did to bring any of this to them. Everything that they did was what you would do as a human being. You see your friend in trouble, you try to help them. But he's the one that did this, and he brought this anger and violence to them. I think it's been really hard, especially when we have a case where we have a murder that's on video, because while we have that, it's not something that we want to have to put a family through to show them that video. And so having to kind of explain what the evidence is without actually showing it to them has been somewhat difficult, because it's hard to explain until you actually see it. And I feel like they've had such strength this week, and hearing all this evidence and testimony, especially with so much of it being video evidence of their son, their brother, their family members having to watch those last moments of their life.
Assistant District Attorney Norman says that they will be seeking the maximum penalty in this case, which would be life in prison. But she says there are some consecutive issues that they'll have to parse through for that sentencing that's scheduled on May 26th. So we could be looking at multiple life sentences for this defendant on top of the 12-year sentence that he's already serving.
Now, in my open, I talked about the two murder victims who could not get up on the witness stand and testify, but the third victim who survived did today. What can you tell us about his testimony and his impact inside that courtroom?
A.J. Bethurn was a strong way for this prosecution to end their long list of witnesses that they put in front of this jury. He's the one who suffered a stab to the eye with a knife. You see, he's wearing glasses there. We didn't see that he was wearing glasses in pictures that we had of him beforehand. He has almost no vision in that eye that suffered this. He told these jurors that that blade injured his skull. That's how deep it went into his eye. And he gave these jurors an idea of the order in which this happened, that the two men who were killed, that was after the stabbing happened to him. So this was, according to the prosecution, those friends defending him. Here's a listen to Bethurn on the stand today.
Well, when I initially saw this fight occurring, in my mind, I figured this was just, a simple disagreement, some guys pushing and shoving, and it would dissolve as it just moved away a little bit. But as it crossed the street, there were still punches being thrown. It was not de-escalating, and a female got pushed over in the process, shoved to the ground, and that's, in my mind, that is not a simple conflict anymore. That's malice, and my friends are in danger. They're getting shoved to the ground, they're getting punched, and this is obviously not just going to simply dissolve.
And so when you go over there, what did you do?
I walked up to an individual who was a little bit shorter than me, maybe by 2 inches. And I put my hands out, confronted him, and I'm not sure what was exchanged, but it ended up hitting that individual in the face. And then not that individual, someone else reached around and stabbed me. I never saw the knife, never saw anything, and I actually originally thought I'd just been punched.
Now, the defense really honed in on that issue of no one seeing the knife, and it's difficult to make out on surveillance video. In their motion for a judgment for acquittal, they brought up the fact that no one saw the knife and did not see it in Mosley's hand, and there were no forensics linking a knife to this fight. But ultimately, that's something that the jury rejected. They agreed with the prosecution's position that this was a fist fight and you don't bring a knife to it. In this case, it's criminal.
Julie Janae at the courthouse in Nashville tonight. Thank you so much. Let's bring in our think tank, get some reaction from them. In the Bronx, New York tonight, criminal defense attorney Renee Hill. In Houston, Texas, criminal defense attorney Carmen Rowe with Frank Sinatra also there in his mugshot. And in Atlanta, Georgia, criminal defense attorney, law professor at Emory University and Georgia Innocence Project board member Molly Palmer. Great to see everyone tonight. I guess tonight's a night where we all can exhale and say the truth came out, justice was served, and we've got a killer off the streets for the rest of his life. It's a good night, Renee Hill.
Oh, Vinny.
They are all criminal defense attorneys, folks, by the way, just so.
Listen, this was a difficult case for the defense. Everything was on video. And as are most cases these days, everything is on video. And with him claiming self-defense and not putting on a case, it was even that much more of an uphill battle, because in this instance, the defense attorney had to rely solely upon his cross-examination of the people's witnesses. And the people's witnesses were very strong. And of course, the last witness, who was a victim in this case, testified, and that kind of sealed it for the prosecution and sealed the fate for the defendant.
Yeah, a lot of problems, Carmen, with the defense. Like, he was at the bar apparently buying and selling drugs, number one. Number two, he throws the first punch. So, you know, you can't be involved in that type of conduct and then say self-defense.
Exactly right, Vinny. I think the Achilles heel for this defense was he was the first aggressor. He's the one who started this entire encounter and then escalated it from there. And as Julie said, he brought a knife to a fist fight that would have ended with maybe some people getting shoved around, maybe some people going to jail for PI, and that's it. But this didn't have to be a murder, and it's tragic. And the assault in this case was vicious.
Molly Palmer, the other difference between the three victims and the defendant is that the defendant, he is a criminal. He is a criminal. He's already serving time for an attack inside of a Walmart, also on video. I saw that on a woman, by the way. So he's a criminal. They're not. I think the jury gets it.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, that attack, the Walmart attack, was particularly vicious as well. I mean, I think what was really striking about this crime was that it was excessively violent, even for those of us who do defense in murder cases, right? The stabbing in the eye, the brutality involved in the murders. I think that that's what the foreperson was contemplating, that they had all had to sit through this, and all of these individuals are so young. You know, and he is going to probably get consecutive life sentences. So now we have this result, compounding the loss of the other two young men. And it's really tragic. The whole thing, I think, is really, really tragic. And that was the heaviness that the foreperson was articulating through the emotion when she read her verdict.
Absolutely. A difficult day, but at the end of the day, got to get to the truth of what happened. And I think the jury did that exactly today. When we come back, we're going to talk about Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito's parents, because their parents are now squaring off inside of a courtroom, okay? Brian Laundrie took his own life. Brian Laundrie took the life of Gabby Petito. But the big question in this lawsuit is, what did Brian Laundrie's parents know, and when did they know it? And did they intentionally inflict emotional distress on Gabby's parents, who were heartbroken and were desperate looking for their daughter?
Worthy.com.
All right, what I need from everybody here is help, because the goal is still not met, and that goal is to bring Gabby home safe, all right? And I'm asking for help from everyone here. I'm asking for help everyone at home. I'm asking for help from the parents of Brian, and I'm asking for help of the family members and friends of the Laundrie family as well.
That's Joe Petito, Gabby Petito's father. And that was when this story was first breaking, and no one knew that Brian had murdered Gabby at that point. All they knew is that Gabby wasn't home, Gabby was missing. And that was a plea to anyone with information, but very specific to Brian's parents. And this was the point where I think America said, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? What is going on here? These parents have not spoken to the other parents? They've said nothing? I mean, Gabby is with Brian. They were fiancé. She lived in their home. My daughter's living in your home and she's missing, and your son is home, and you're not telling me where my daughter is? How could you do this? And that's when America turned on the entire Laundrie family, and especially the parents, because they're the only ones that we actually saw. Well, now Gabby Petito's parents have taken it to the next step. They filed a lawsuit against them for those actions and that inaction, for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Let me read for you some of these allegations. Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie knew of the mental suffering and anguish of Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt. And they knew that they could alleviate, at least in part, such mental suffering and anguish by disclosing what they knew about the well-being and the location of the remains of Gabrielle Petito. Yet they repeatedly refused to do so. Morally unforgivable. Let me go on. In the complaint, it alleges that Christopher and Roberta Laundrie were informed on or about August 28th that Brian Laundrie killed Gabby Petito. The complaint states that the Laundries knew Gabrielle was deceased and refused to help law enforcement or the Petitos locate her or provide critical information. The lawsuit alleges the Laundries kept Brian's whereabouts a secret and helped him make arrangements to flee. Those are the allegations. It's a lawsuit. You file a lawsuit, it's a complaint, then the other side responds to that complaint, and finally now we've got the response of the Laundries through their attorney. The gravamen of the claimed wrongdoing is that the Laundries exercised their constitutional rights and essentially made no statements to plaintiffs or law enforcement. As a matter of law, the Laundries' silence could not form the basis of a claim for intentional infliction of emotional distress. In sum, get ready, the plaintiffs have failed to satisfy the elements of causation and severity. The plaintiffs were understandably fearful about what happened to their daughter, and they would have been upset about their daughter regardless of anything the Laundries could have said. But the fear or sadness was not caused by the Laundries. It was an unfortunate, unavoidable part of the entire circumstances surrounding Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito. That's the response. Let's bring in the think tank. Renee Hill, Carmen Rowe, Molly Palmer. Carmen, the parents didn't murder Gabby Petito, but they knew something happened. They knew she wasn't home. They never reached out. They never picked up the phone. They never did anything. They just let Gabby's body rot in the sun, be eaten by animals. That's what they did. That's what they did. Many days, even before Gabby's parents knew that Gabby was missing, they knew and could have sped everything up in this. Why didn't they? And why shouldn't they pay for that?
Vinnie, like you said in the very beginning, you know, our criminal justice system is made up of finding the truth, but we don't find the truth through making people give statements. And so they're exercising their constitutional rights in this case to remain silent, not to implicate themselves or their son in any criminal activity. And so while intentional infliction of emotional distress is something that needs to be outrageous, which this is, it's directly at the intersection of them invoking their right to remain silent, a constitutional right that is sacrosanct in this country. And so it's hard in this case because it's a tragic situation across the board. But as you said, these parents didn't do anything in this case to Gabby directly. Their son did, and all they did was try to protect him and themselves in the face of an entire country coming after them.
Okay, I'm a little confused, Molly Palmer. Clarify it for me. That's why we invite smart panels like this on every night to clarify things for me. So the parents were committing crimes, and that's why they had to remain silent? I mean, if they're innocent, they really don't need to remain silent. We're not trying to lock them up here. We're just trying to sue them for inflicting emotional distress. They're not facing any charges. They were never charged with anything. From everything I've heard from their lawyer, they're 100% innocent. So why do they need to remain silent? And why should they benefit from that silence when that silence creates the emotional distress and the intentional infliction of emotional distress on the Laundries?
Well, Vinnie, I'm happy to clarify. And of course, I can even point to a specific case site from the United States Supreme Court, which has upheld the sanctity of our Fifth Amendment constitutional right not to incriminate ourselves. And in Ohio v. Reiner.
Incriminate what? What's the incrimination? They didn't do anything wrong.
I'm telling you that in Ohio v. Reiner, the Supreme Court held that that right applies to the innocent. It applies to those who have done nothing wrong. All they need to show is that there is reasonable cause to believe that making a statement could have some sort of legal consequence. And they are entitled to invoke this, whether or not they did a single thing. It is constitutional. It is American. It's how the system works. And you can find it morally reprehensible, like you said. I'm not saying that it's not in some respects, but the law is not morality. And the law is clear about the Fifth Amendment right not to incriminate yourself, even if you are innocent.
Okay, Renee Hill, how does this play out then? They're not going to talk. They're not going to say anything. They're being sued. Civil suits have things called depositions, where I send you a subpoena, you got to sit down, I ask you questions. Are they going to sit there throughout their entire civil case and just exercise their Fifth Amendment right to remain silent and while they're being sued? Or are they going to answer some questions about what they knew and when they knew it?
They may continue to exercise that right if there is any possibility whatsoever that they could be charged criminally and this deposition could then be used against them. Absolutely, they're going to continue to exercise their rights.
So what you're saying is they are criminals then, potentially.
No, we're not saying that because we don't know. And the allegations that are in this complaint, Vinnie, where they are saying that they knew the date that Gabby was killed, they knew that where her body was and what had happened to her. How do they know that? That's an allegation that they are making, but you still don't know what Brian said to his parents when he came home. You don't know if he told them
that's why we've got the lawsuit.
You don't know that, right? But
that's the lawsuit. Those are the allegations. And in a civil case, I depose you and I get evidence. I can call you to the witness stand in a civil case.
And they still have the right to remain silent if there's a possibility.
Okay, let them take the Fifth in front of the civil jury. Let them take the Fifth in front of the civil jury. They'll be paying.
In this action, they are claiming that the actions of the parents were to intentionally harm Gabby's parents. But their actions, if anything, were not to harm Gabby's parents. It was to protect their child.
Protect or cover up a crime. Now now they're criminals again.
Or didn't do.
All right.
No, but it's whatever they did or didn't do is what prompted their actions. Okay. Not what they were trying to do.
I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. I said they're not criminals. They didn't do anything wrong. Just talk, right? We shall see. We shall see. Still ahead. On the docket tonight in Fairfax County, Virginia, movie star Johnny Depp getting ready for his upcoming trial on Court TV. Depp is suing his ex, Amber Heard, for defamation after she accused him of domestic violence.
I was hitting you. It was not punching you.
Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched.
Plus, tonight's 13th Juror question, can Johnny Depp get his reputation back if he wins his defamation case against Amber Heard? On the docket, big trial coming to Court TV. It's Johnny Depp versus his ex Amber Heard. It's really a domestic violence case that is sort of wrapped up in a defamation case. Ted Rowlands has a look at what happened between these two who were married for just a short time.
Actor Johnny Depp, who was hoping a British court would help restore his image and kickstart his career, instead was dealt a major blow by a judge, dismissing his claims against a British tabloid. Depp sued The Sun for libel after a 2018 article called him a wife-beater, but Justice Andrew Nicol of the High Court of England sided with the newspaper, saying what they published was, quote, substantially true. The ruling comes after weeks of salacious testimony and video and audio evidence presented to the court during a trial in London.
Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy.
Have you drunk this whole thing this morning?
Oh, you got this going?
Just started it.
Oh, really? Really?
Front and center at trial was Depp's ex-wife, Amber Heard. Called as a witness by The Sun, she testified about 14 separate incidents of physical and emotional abuse beginning in early 2013 and ending in May of 2016, just before the couple agreed to separate. She secretly recorded Depp during what she characterized as drunken, drug-induced rages.
No, I didn't. What the are you talking about? And I watched you lie, and then
I didn't punch you, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't
punch you.
It has been incredibly painful to relive the breakup of my relationship, to have my motives, my truth questioned, and the most traumatic and intimate details of my life with Johnny shared in court and broadcast to the entire world.
Not sure I deserve that. Depp claims his career has been damaged by allegations of abuse, citing his removal from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise in 2018. Around the same time, Amber Heard wrote about being the victim of abuse in an op-ed published in the Washington Post. The article didn't actually name Depp, but that isn't stopping him from suing her for $50 million in the state of Virginia.
It's going to happen, and it's a civil case, so, you know, you're going to have testimony from both parties inside that courtroom. And let's get back to how we started the show, talking about what is the purpose of our system of justice. It's to get to the truth. But how is the jury going to get to the truth in this one? Let's bring back in our think tank, Renee Hill, Carmen Rowe, Molly Palmer with us. Let me ask you, Molly, you know, cross-examination to me is going to be a crucial part of this case because you're going to have the cross-examination of Amber Heard by Johnny Depp's team. You're going to have the cross-examination of Johnny Depp by Amber Heard's team. Who do you think is going to have more of an opportunity here to win the case on cross?
I got to be honest. I think that there's a chance that Johnny's team might have an opportunity to really get into some stuff that we have never heard and never seen before. For example, Amber Heard has been arrested for domestic violence, and it didn't result in a conviction. This was back in 2009, and it was with her then girlfriend. So charges were dismissed, but so, you know, there's a lot going on with these two. And we have kind of only seen, I believe, a one-sided presentation. So I am open to hearing more, but just given the nature of who these individuals are and some of what we've heard about their lifestyle, I am not second-guessing the fact that Johnny's team might dig into her and uncover a lot of things in terms of issues with motive, credibility, bias, and truth, Vinny, truth.
Absolutely. Renee Hill, the damage is real, right? Johnny Depp's career is nowhere near where it was. He was the highest paid actor of all time. Yeah. And now no one's making movies with him. He's being left out of projects left and right. So the damage is real. But the question is, what caused the damage? Did he cause it to himself? Or was it caused, as he alleges, by lies told by his ex, Amber Heard? That's what this trial ultimately is about. I think it's going to be difficult for a jury to ferret through all of this.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult, but, you know, this is what this trial is all about, like you said. And, you know, the words that were uttered, the allegations that have been made are extremely serious. And certainly detrimental, and it has occurred in this case because his career has gone down the tubes, and it's based upon, or if it is proven that it is based upon what she alleged occurred to her, then he's going to fare well. But it certainly is going to be very difficult, again, because of the characters that we are going to be presented with here. When I listened to that recording between the two of them where she's talking about, I didn't punch you, and he's saying, don't tell me that you don't know what a punch is. The accent and the tone of his voice, I can't get over that. I don't know how this jury, whoever is selected on this jury, is certainly going to have a good time. I think they will enjoy it. Their job will still be hard when it's time for them to work and make a decision, but I think it's going to be very, very entertaining throughout the entire trial.
Carmen, let me pick up on what Renee is talking about here. Let's play a clip of Johnny Depp, because I'm wondering if he has some level of home court advantage. This trial is going to be in Virginia, and he's from Kentucky, so let's take another listen to that Kentucky accent.
No, I didn't. What the are you talking about? And I watched you lie, and then
I didn't punch you, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched.
Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched.
So, Carmen, like I said, he was the highest paid actor in Hollywood, huge celebrity. But we're also in the Me Too world that we're in now. His star not as bright as it was at its peak because of all this controversy. So what impact, if any, does the star factor play here for Johnny Depp when it's time for him to tell his story?
Well, Vinnie, it's significant. First of all, everybody loves Johnny Depp, but we've never seen him in this light. And so it's not just the allegations, it's these hidden videos, these photographs, all of this intoxication and abusive language and then abusive actions. And, we keep finding out more and more information. I couldn't agree more with Molly. I think this is going to be an unbelievable trial to watch because we're hearing more and more about assaultive type behavior coming from the complainant in this domestic abuse situation, not just from Johnny. And I do think that a lot of this was left on the cutting room floor as regards the UK trial because we're just now getting some of this information. So I think it's going to be an unbelievable matchup inside that courtroom.
It is. 5 jurors, I believe, will make this decision, Molly. A little different. I'm pretty sure in Virginia's civil case it's 5 jurors. That's my understanding. We'll see if there's different rules for this particular case. Is there a chance that this jury just dismisses both of them as rich Hollywood people who were just, they were wrong for each other? Why, and just kind of nobody gets anything because he's suing her for $50 million. She is counterclaiming against him for $100 million. They actually have the money to pay these things. So what are your thoughts there about how, 5, if it is 5 ordinary people get in there and have to judge these mega rich Hollywood superstars?
Yeah, I think anytime you're representing a celebrity and you're going through jury selection, you have to be really intentional and really think through who is going to make up your jurors, right? Because of course you don't want to have, the tables of attorneys, everyone's going to be dressed to the nines, expensive clothes, lots of people, resource rich. You don't want the jury to look at all of that and say, don't bring this into my town in Virginia. I don't care about any of this Hollywood stuff. And yeah, star power can be helpful, but it can also work the other way. So certainly, Vinnie, there is a chance that the jury's going to say, look, no, dismiss them both. I don't care about this. We're done. Absolutely.
Now, when we come back, I posted a question today on social media because if Johnny Depp wins, and this was the purpose that he stated as to why he's filing this lawsuit for defamation. He's trying to get his reputation back. So if, right, there's a big if because the trial has to happen. But if he's successful at trial, can Johnny Depp get his reputation back? Your verdict next.
I traveled here to the UK to testify as a witness to assist the court. After obtaining a restraining order in 2016 and finalizing my divorce, I just wanted to move on with my life. I did not file this lawsuit, and despite its significance, I would have preferred not to be here in court.
That was Amber Heard. She testified in Johnny Depp's case in the UK. Johnny Depp lost that case, but it wasn't against Amber Heard. It was against one of the tabloids, The Sun, who called him a wife beater. He said, "No, I'm not," and the judge found for the tabloid. So in this next case, she is actual party to the case. So she will be at court. She will testify. She'll be inside the courtroom. And she has a cross-claim against Johnny Depp for defamation as well. But I asked you on social media today if Johnny Depp wins the case, and the jury comes back and said, yeah, it was a lie. She lied about you. You were defamed. Will Johnny Depp, can he get his reputation back? We begin with our 13th juror comment of the day coming from Tim tonight, who says, unfortunately, the only winners in this case will be the attorneys on each side. Both Depp and Heard will look worse after the trial. And even if he wins, there will be those that will always think he is guilty. Renee Hill, is that the case with all those clients that you've taken into a courtroom and walked out with not guilties? But seriously, is it difficult for people who've been accused of whether it's a crime or accusations like this and then win their case in court? Is it difficult to get the reputation back?
It certainly is, and especially with the crimes that are more serious. It's very difficult to get the reputation back. And, there's going to be a lot of dirt thrown in this courtroom on both sides, and everyone is going to hear it. So whoever wins, I think, will still have a difficult time getting back their reputation, because what's out there is out there. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. So, it's going to be hard to unring that bell, and it will be difficult for them to move forward with careers.
Here's from Paula tonight. Not an Amber Heard fan, says Amber Heard is crazy. That's Paula's opinion. She's not crazy, but, Amber, she says, I never believed a word she said about Johnny Depp. Okay, so Paula will not be on the jury, Carmen Rowe, but, I mean, if the jurors all agree that Amber Heard is not believed and Johnny Depp wins, can he get his reputation back?
Vinnie, I think there's no question. Look, Hollywood loves a comeback story, and this case is going to come down to what is out in the media. I know they say we don't try cases in the media, but what everyone in this country sees and hears about what goes on in this trial, and what we've heard so far, there's already people that are divided. So I think this is going to come down to a media case as regards his reputation going forward, and I think it's very possible that he can enhance it based on what comes out in this trial.
Yeah, because I don't think it's necessarily about money. I mean, it is on the one hand. I mean, you have to sue someone for money. It's $50 million, which is a lot of money. Here's what William has to say. He will never get his good name back. Molly, your thoughts? If he wins, right? If he wins, and they say these are all lies, will America believe him? Will Hollywood believe him? Because that's really who he has to convince to start making money again.
Yeah, well, I guess viewer William is not going to believe him, even if he comes out of this winning. But I think, when we think about Johnny Depp and we think about his relationships in Hollywood, he existed on a very large scale well before he ever married Amber Heard, right? And so this is only a part of his reputation. He's been married many times before, and those women have come out and said that he's nonviolent. And so I think that when you have a really long career, there's a chance he could come out and still maintain that career.
All right, we shall see. Renee Hill, Carmen Rowe, Molly Palmer, thank you very much. We'll be back. We got a lot more to talk about tonight. In Lyon County, Nevada, a tragic ending in the search for missing 18-year-old Naomi Ariane. Her body was recovered in a shallow grave. Tonight, we have all the latest.
Please give my daughter back to me. Please.
Tonight's unsolved case file in Kent, Ohio. Franklin Benedict was coming home from work at Walmart. When he got back to his apartment, the power was off. And then he was shot and killed. Why would anyone want to kill Franklin Benedict?
You're nothing. You're a coward. Because whatever was going on between you and Frank did not have to end this way.
In Atlanta, Georgia, officers respond to a man screaming while trapped in a creek. We take a look at the rescue with our own law enforcement experts.
Perfect. We got path on that one. I can't do where this officer is. I can't see where I'm.
And in Los Angeles, California, armed robbers go after a man trying to go to his apartment. Meanwhile, a pizza man quickly exits the dangerous scene. We break down what happened during crime time. Buckle your seatbelts. This hour of closing arguments starts right now. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And we begin with big news, but it's not good news. It's big news, but it's not good. I'm talking about the case involving the search for Naomi Ariane, 18 years old. We've been following this story. We spoke with the family. We spoke with her mom, with her brother. Missing out of a small town out in Nevada near Reno. She was just going to work. She was abducted. There was an arrest. And now tonight, worst case scenario, a huge announcement from the sheriff out in Lyon County who've been working this case from the beginning. Let me read for you this announcement. On Tuesday, March 29th, 2022, investigators from the Churchill County Sheriff's Office, along with a detective from the Lyon County Sheriff's Office, responded to a remote part of Churchill County following a tip regarding the disappearance of Naomi Ariane. Their investigative actions led them to a possible grave site. Washoe County Sheriff's Office Forensic Investigative Services team was contacted and responded to assist in processing the scene. The body of an adult Caucasian female was recovered from that grave site. The body was transported to the Washoe County Medical Examiner's Office for an autopsy and to confirm identification. On March 30th, 2022, the remains were confirmed as those of Naomi Ariane. The family has been notified. No further information can be released at this time, as this is still an open and active investigation. So the family has gotten their answer. Naomi has been found. They were still holding out hope. All of us were, that she would be found alive, but that's not the case tonight. For those of you not familiar with Naomi's story, here it is.
On March 12, 2022, at approximately 05:09 hours, Naomi parks at the Fermi Walmart. At 05:24 hours, the suspect approaches Naomi's vehicle. And at 05:25 hours, Naomi's vehicle leaves the Walmart parking lot with the suspect driving the vehicle.
10 days after she went missing, the Lyon County, Nevada Sheriff's Office told the public about 18-year-old Naomi Ariane. She had been abducted from a Walmart parking lot. She was last seen on surveillance video at a convenience store before taking her car to the Fernley Walmart, where she parked to catch a bus to go to work at Panasonic. Police released this surveillance video of the man they believe kidnapped Naomi. They say the man pushed Naomi into the passenger seat of her car and then took off. That car was located 3 days later at a paint plant near the Walmart where she was abducted. But there were no signs of Naomi.
We need news. We need to find her.
Naomi's family was desperately awaiting a break in the case, which came on March 25th, just days after police released this image of a pickup truck they believed had a direct connection to Naomi's whereabouts. The Lyon County Sheriff's Office announced in a press release that they had arrested 41-year-old Troy Driver and were holding him on charges of kidnapping. It was news that Naomi's mother, Diana, says was met with a mixture of emotions.
I'm jubilant and terrified. I'm jubilant because they caught someone and have a truck that matches the description, but I'm terrified it's not the right one.
Not only was she afraid police may have arrested the wrong guy, but there was still no information on where Naomi might be.
You must give up my daughter's location. Please give my daughter back to me. Please.
Unfortunately, Naomi would not be returned safely to her mother. The Lyon County Sheriff's Office announced on March 30th a tip had led them to a possible gravesite where they found remains that they have now confirmed to be Naomi Ariane. Police have yet to announce whether Troy Driver will be charged in Naomi's death. Driver is currently being held in the Lyon County Jail on a $750,000 bond. You know, it's difficult, but they've got their answer, and she's been found. There's so many families we have on this program, night in and night out, that don't have those answers. Obviously, it's not the answer you want, but anyway, let me show you a map here of what we are talking about here. This is Lyon County to Churchill County. The map begins, we've got the entire state of Nevada, but let's zoom in here on both Lyon County and Churchill County so you can kind of see where they are. Now, Fernley, Nevada. Fernley, Nevada is where she had parked at that Walmart. And I believe the distance we're talking about here is about 55 miles or so between the two locations here. And Churchill County, Nevada is where her remains are actually found. So that's the big news tonight. That's the big news tonight. But the investigation continues because you've got to put together enough evidence to prove who is responsible. They've arrested the man they believe is responsible for the abduction, and now you've got to tie the rest of the case together. Let's bring in our guest. Joining me tonight in Los Angeles, California, retired FBI special agent. He's also the producer of Indivisible Healing Hate, which you should check out, streaming on Paramount Plus right now. Bobby Chacon is with us. In Chicago, Illinois, private investigator Erica Morse. And joining us once again in Portland, Oregon, podcaster Gray Hughes, who has been on top of the story from the beginning. Welcome to everyone. Gray, I'm going to begin with you. Your reaction to learning all this information and kind of putting together some pieces here tonight. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's just absolutely, devastating to the family. I had, the pleasure to have Casey on my show a few different times, and he, you could tell he really wanted his sister to be found safe out there, and it's just, all of our hearts go out to him. It's interesting right now where they found her body, and that sort of coincides with last time I was on, we were talking about how the truck drove by the Sherwin-Williams, his pickup truck, maybe at like around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So that would be 10 hours. And so it sounds like she was found, what was the name of that street? I think it was Coal Canyon Road, actually. And that's way up, I think it's way up north in Churchill County over there. So you would go past like Lovelock up there and then down into Churchill, or you can come from the bottom, which is maybe even more likely because Highway 50 goes right by Troy Driver's house down on the southern part of Churchill County. So he may have come up from the southern area since he's more familiar with that area.
Bobby Chacon, you've got a man under arrest. He's not cooperating. I don't think you're going to have a confession here, but you've got video. You've got other forensic evidence that you must have gotten from that truck. Now you've got a body. So what are investigators doing tonight?
Well, they're following the trail of the evidence that they found both in her car and in his. Now that they have him in custody, I'm sure they've done executed search warrants related to him, either where he worked or where he lived and his vehicles. You're waiting for the forensic examination from the medical examiner to see what you can glean from her body, to see if now it's a matter of matching the physical evidence to what you know, to the other evidence in the case, to what people have told you, to what people have seen, to what you see on the video. So it's matching all of those things to your physical evidence, because you want to get a good match of your physical and your forensic evidence to your testimony by witnesses and surveillance, be it a video camera or a still photograph. So you're just starting to look at all of those things up on your board and seeing how much they match and as much of you can match it together. Of course, you're still waiting on the autopsy or the forensic exam, and that'll take a little while, but you're now they're piecing all those things together. Now the picture's becoming clearer, and now it's a matter of getting your evidence in shape and seeing what evidence supports other evidence and tells the story of what happened.
Erica Morris, Gray brought it up how difficult this is for the family to get this result, because they were absolutely holding out hope that she would be found alive, and that's all they cared about. She's not, but they do at least have an answer, right? I mean, I'm trying to look for some silver lining to this extremely dark cloud tonight. That unlike many other families, they've got an answer, but it's the wrong answer, right?
It is the wrong answer. However, there is a term used, especially regarding parents of missing individuals, and that is ambiguous loss. It is the unknown of what happened, where the loved one is, are they alive, are they not alive? And that causes such a level of mental paralysis. And it is an exhausting situation. It causes families to have time loops in their brains over and over. And it is a minute silver lining to have an answer, because it is the wrong one. It is the heartbreaking one. However, families that go through this unknown, this ambiguous loss for years and years and years suffer an extreme level of post-traumatic stress that it actually causes damage and changes to the brain and how it acts and how it responds. So, while I am grateful that they have answers, they are also in the worst, most fresh situation of trauma and loss than anyone could imagine.
It's horrific. 18 years old, just going to work. Just going to work. I mean, what 18-year-old wakes up that early in the morning to go to work, right? I mean, that speaks volumes about her character. Gray, if in fact the man who's in custody for the abduction is good for the crime and perhaps good for a murder here, and again, that's an if, that's what trials are about, and that's what investigations are about. But how does the timeline sort of work out here? Can you walk us through, you know, from that morning to where her body is found, and kind of put that together for us a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I have I'm speculating some here. I think he parked his truck somewhere around there, maybe around Lowe's or by the Sherwin-Williams. And then he probably walked over to the Walmart parking lot around 5 in the morning and waited for her specifically. I think she was the target of him. And I think at like 5:09, she got there. And then at 5:23, she stopped texting and stuff on her phone. And then he came in from behind her as he was surveilling the parking lot, and then abducted her from the Walmart parking lot. Now there's a ping that's up to the north west a little bit. So did he go up there first? We don't really know what happened after he left the Walmart parking lot. But what's interesting though is that they must have linked his truck to the abduction prior to the shot that you see the truck driving by the Sherwin-Williams. And it turns out that the truck driving by the Sherwin-Williams was at about 3 in the afternoon-ish, around that time, maybe, 2 to 4 o'clock, let's say. But that's still, 8, 9, 10 hours later. So I think it's possible. One of my theories is that he parked at Lowe's, where his truck would be almost, you wouldn't even notice it because there's all kinds of trucks at Lowe's, and it's much closer to the Walmart. And maybe they see him get out of the vehicle at 5 in the morning, walk over there. They see him, a gray sweatshirted guy, walk away from Lowe's. And that's how they were able to say, okay, that truck looks like it's associated. And then later in the afternoon, somebody comes back to the truck, pulls out of Lowe's, and then drives by Sherwin-Williams. And that's how they know that that truck is associated. And her vehicle was found at Sherwin-Williams too. So it's right in this, all of it's in the exact same area. It's crazy. But it had to have been that he came back to get with her car to get out, to get into his truck. Because what other reason would he be back there 10 hours later?
Yeah, that's a strange part of all this. So Bobby, again, all this will play out through the investigation, through the trial, et cetera. But you really have 2 different vehicles you're dealing with in this case.
That's right, and you're trying to determine, when the murder actually took place and where it took place. Did it take place in one of those vehicles, or did it take place somewhere else? You're also trying to work backwards from where you found her vehicle, because conceivably, if he left her vehicle somewhere, he had already disposed of her body, because he's not going to get out of her vehicle and carry her body somewhere. He might have moved it into his truck or something, but then he had to literally walk from where his vehicle was back to his vehicle, right? So all of those pieces, they're a part of the puzzle that they're putting together, and that again, they're looking at videos, they're looking at witness statements, they're looking at all the possible physical evidence that can say, how did he get from here to here? We know he was here, we know he was here. How did he get from that place to that place? And what did he have with him? And where was Naomi during this time period? So they're trying to put all those pieces together. We're seeing the major pieces, but what they're doing is trying to tie those pieces together. Where her car was found, back to where his truck was, and all that with the time. And as Grace said, that picture of the truck going by there 8 or 10 hours later is crucial, because that gives you another piece of where he was at a particular place and time.
Okay, folks, we'll continue to track the developments in this story. As everyone's pointed out, autopsy results have to come out. Will there be more charges? Will they arrest someone for the actual murder? All of that still has to happen, and we'll keep an eye on it. Gray Hughes, podcaster, joining us from Oregon tonight. Great to have you on the show again. Appreciate it. Check out his podcast on YouTube, folks. Bobby and Erica are going to stay with us as we come back and open up tonight's unsolved case file. Franklin Benedict, also connected to a Walmart. He was a manager, getting off of work, goes back to his apartment, the power's out, and there's someone inside waiting to kill him? Like, why? Why? That story next.
SmileDirectClub.com.
It's time to open up tonight's unsolved case file. Tonight, Homa Bash from our great affiliate WEWS in Cleveland, Ohio, has the story of Franklin Benedict.
If Franklin Benedict's life was a movie, it would be a thriller.
Yeah, it's very hard every day.
Full of suspense, a murder mystery.
Because he was executed, shot in the head, then shot again in the chest.
Franklin Benedict was 26 years old, living in an apartment just off Kent State's campus when he was ambushed and killed on July 7th, 2015. And still, no suspects.
It's one of those things where we just can't find a reason or a motive why Frank was killed.
No reason, no motive, no real clues as to who killed Franklin or even why. But Kent police detectives think that someone they've spoken with knows more than they're revealing.
Because we really believe that the answer is right in front of us, that somebody holds that answer. And for them to not disclose it is the most frustrating thing of all.
For Franklin's family, there is more than frustration. There is raw heartbreak.
He was kind.
This isn't a Hollywood movie.
Is every day hard for you?
Yes. Yeah, it's very hard every day.
This is a real-life tragedy that wrecked their lives.
It's always in our minds.
The kind of pain you would never wish on anyone.
What you did was terrible. Very rotten to take his life.
Franklin's body was discovered by his roommate, Matt Wright, on the afternoon of July 8th. He had been dead for about 12 hours. Franklin's last words had been text messages and phone calls to his roommate, telling him the power in their place was out.
We talked on the phone for a while about it. I said, no, the power's got to be on. I called the power company. They said it has to be on.
So his roommate decided to stay the night at a girlfriend's house, coming home at lunch the next day to see if the lights were back on.
So I got home at lunch, just walked into the house as normal, and I saw him laying in the hallway. So my initial thought was he was messing with the breaker box and he blew himself up, that he got electrocuted.
The breaker box. Franklin's family believes the electricity had deliberately been turned off, leaving him in the dark when he returned home from work.
They go in and shut the lights off, so they've been in that apartment.
Franklin worked as a third shift supervisor at Walmart. Security footage showing the moment he left work on July 7th, just after 11:20 at night. The last time he was ever seen alive.
It drives his whole family crazy. I know people always looked at me for answers for it, saying you have to know something else. There has to be a piece of information, but there's nothing. And I've had years to think about it, and in years I've come up with nothing.
Franklin was the Benedict's oldest son. If his life were a movie, his character would be cast as mild and mellow, a movie buff.
Oh, yeah, he was a movie buff. He bought movies every chance he got.
He didn't just watch a movie, he was more like a critic.
If we were to cast Franklin's killer in this real-life horror film, that person would be methodical and meticulous. So calculating and disciplined, not a shred of evidence is left behind.
You know, we're talking about a shooting here. We don't know who was on the other end of that gun. Could be a male, could be a female.
Franklin's murderer lay in wait in the dark inside his apartment for hours, getting in through the unlocked sliding glass door. They escaped by cutting through this bedroom window screen and jumping down from the second floor.
And nothing from the house was stolen either, and there were plenty of valuables that they could have taken. No, almost nothing was touched.
Detectives say their investigation has found there was no sign of drugs.
So they did a tox screen on our son, and that tox screen came back perfect, not even an aspirin.
Nothing sinister that Franklin was up to.
They never seen one so clean in their life for a kid being 26 years old.
No reason that anyone can find for anyone to want Franklin dead.
Now, is there something that we missed? You never know. We hope not, but in a way we hope so. That there might be a break.
A break they are all waiting for. A break that every good movie ends with. That satisfying ending that answers all of your lingering questions.
I hope the sequel is killer is found and brought to justice and everybody gets some closure. I think more than anything, all people want is some closure from this.
And a chance to look the killer in the eyes and tell them this.
You're nothing. You're a coward. Because whatever was going on between you and Frank did not have to end this way.
Okay, here's the number. Kent Police Department out in Ohio, 330-673-7732, 330-673-7732. Please call if you know anything. Let's bring back in our guest, still with us, retired FBI Special Agent, producer of Indivisible Healing Hate, which is streaming on Paramount Plus right now. Bobby Chacon is with us. Also, private investigator Erica Morse. Erica, I don't understand this. He's hardworking another hardworking young person, right? He's working as a supervisor, Walmart at night, comes home, the power's out? Come on.
The power's out, and the electric company said there was no reason for the power to be out. Let's make sure that's made clear. And everybody else is away. The girlfriend's reportedly been cleared because she went to work that evening. So clearly there were witnesses or time cards to back that up. This man has no criminal history. He's saving money successfully, so there do not appear to be any financial issues. Somebody had access to that apartment. I don't like to toss out a theory like this, often, but I would look very closely at anyone in his orbit, anyone in that complex, perhaps who was suffering from a mental break, because this does not fit a pattern of a clear motive at this point. And so I'd be looking real close at who might have had a reason, or not a reason, but somebody that may have just snapped.
Bobby Chacon, I want you to take a listen to Paul Fafrak. He's a retired detective from the Kent Police Department. Here's what he told us.
The fuse box was actually inside of the apartment. Access to the fuse box would have had to have been gained by someone inside the apartment. There was no evidence of anyone cutting in any of the power or, tampering with it, other than possibly throwing the circuit, the switch for the circuit breaker. That is our theory, that someone tampered with that fuse box and they knew Frank's exact location when he threw that fuse back on.
Bobby Chacon, was this a professional hit? Is that possible?
Anything's possible because there's so little to go on at this point, but it certainly looks like it. I mean, look, if you had to have known the fuse box was inside the apartment, because sometimes they're not. So they gained access. The other thing that interests me is the egress and ingress was different. So they say they came in through a sliding glass door that was unlocked, and yet they cut a screen to jump out of a second floor window. I wonder why they wouldn't have exited the same way they entered. One shot to the head, one shot to the chest. Certainly is somebody that's calm and collected, and probably has done this before. It means that they didn't leave much DNA or much forensic evidence inside the apartment, most likely. So yeah, this does it, but that is so contrary to the way this young man was living his life. Why would a professional hit be put on someone like this? Could it have been mistaken identity? I don't know. But you would look at somebody, did he have a disagreement, like Erica said, with somebody in the neighborhood? Did he have a disagreement with somebody at work? Was there a disgruntled customer at work? All of those things have to be run out. But any of those things, none of those things that you think of produce a professional hitman like this, that gains entry surreptitiously, that cuts the power on purpose. So he walks into a dark apartment and then shoots him once in the head and then once in the chest. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I'm not a big believer in motive. I don't normally need motive to prove my cases. But in this case, motive is everything, because that's where it's going to lead to a suspect. And this one is a real mystery to me, because the way it was carried out does not fit the victim in this case.
Yeah, let's take a listen to the detective again, Erica, here again, talking about what Bobby said about getting in and out of this apartment.
We're not sure how the suspect gained entry. There was no forced entry. However, we did find a screen window that was cut. As you can see from the photo there, His apartment was on the second floor, so it's not a very big leap for someone to get on that balcony and jump down. As a matter of fact, I tried it. At my age, I was able to do it with no problem at all.
All right, Erica, we're really short on time. We only have a few seconds here. Can this be solved?
Every case can be solved. Every case can be solved.
Love to hear that.
So,
Erica Morse, Bobby Chacon, appreciate your time, your expertise. We appreciate it. We'll see you again real soon. Still ahead.
In Atlanta, Georgia, officers respond to a man screaming while trapped in a creek. We take a look at the rescue with our own law enforcement experts.
Perfect. You got path on that one. I came through where this officer is. I can't see where I'm at.
And in Los Angeles, California, armed robbers go after a man trying to go to his apartment. Meanwhile, a pizza man quickly exits the dangerous scene.
It is crime time here on Closing Arguments. Let's bring in tonight's guests. Joining me, former Special Agent Supervisor for the Department of Homeland Security, Dr. Jason Piccolo. Jason has served in law enforcement for over 20 years. He was a U.S. Border Patrol agent. He's a veteran of Operation Iraqi Freedom and has worked in human smuggling and international narcotics trafficking, and is the author of Out of the Shadows and the host of The Protectors podcast. Also with us, retired DEA Special Agent Ted Golden. Ted is a former Memphis police officer. He has 34 years of experience in law enforcement. He was with the Drug Enforcement Administration for 28 years and is a trainer at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change, and he is a consultant with the DeKalb County, Georgia Juvenile Court. And Ted, my understanding is you're joining us from Nashville tonight, so Jason, I want to know where you're performing.
I am in.
I'm in transition to my high school reunion in Jackson, Tennessee. So I'm trying to get there tomorrow morning.
Fantastic. All right. So let's get to our first video tonight. Comes to us from the Atlanta Police Department. Officers help save a man trapped in a creek.
Atlanta 911 operator Gray, the address of this emergency.
Okay, we heard somebody saying he was dying, he fell. Crazy.
Right here! Over here. Right here! We can't let go. Just come to us. We can't move. If I let go, he'll fall down the creek. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Get up, get up, get up. Get up, get up, man. Use your legs for me. Come on. I'm hurting.
10249.
Yeah. Yeah, we're good, buddy. Hey, we have access. I'm with the patient right now. There's no threat of him falling in the creek. No rushing water. We're just stuck in the creek.
We got stokes back to cover, Mike.
That's perfect.
You got path on that one. I can't do where this officer is.
Yeah, I can't see where I'm at.
It would be better if we
Please! You're going to lay right here for a little bit till we can get you out, okay?
Drop one in. We're gathering that equipment for you.
You comfortable with what you're doing for a minute? Because it's going to be a second. All right? Can you work with me on that?
Yeah, come here. I'm clear on that.
There you go. Go to sleep. That'll help me out.
He's just stuck. He's just laying there. He's not stuck.
Just laying there. Yeah.
All right. I just ain't remember what this on the bus.
Yeah. There we go.
The giants are real know what you're talking about.
Come beside this thing.
All right, hold on. I got us stuff.
If you'll step out, we'll come in with this basket right here. We're going to pull him right out and leave. Thank you. Hell of a job, man, on getting this guy in that thing right there, man. That's badass.
Yeah, he stays there.
We transported to Gurney MS 26. Does he live with anybody?
I've been over a couple times. Last night he was over there hollering and screaming.
Does he live by himself?
He said by himself.
Okay. Well, he's gonna go to Grady. He'll be all right.
All right.
Yeah.
It was.
Might have some hypothermia maybe, but he'll get warm up.
All right, there's a lot of things in this video, but I want to start with the victim here and how difficult is it to keep victims calm. It seems that as law enforcement, every day you're coming across people who are having perhaps the worst day they've ever had. Dr. Jason Piccolo, did they train you for this?
They don't train you to make people calm, but your calmness will transpire onto them. So the more you maintain your calm, the more you can keep them calm. If that makes any sense. The thing is, in this situation, you have to make sure that they're calm under extreme duress. They don't know if their life is going to end at any moment. So you could hear the voice ratchet up, and you could hear the officer say, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna do this. We're gonna get you out of there. Just maintain your calm." So you have to be calm in order to maintain their calm.
You know, Ted Golden, you sign up to be in the APD, Atlanta Police Department. Here you are in the wilderness, in a creek, trying to save someone, not on the streets of Atlanta. But you know, part of what you got to do is deal with every situation.
It's this is the most unusual thing I've ever seen, but you encounter all kinds of situations. Usually somebody stuck under a house, but never in the bushes. So, it's a unique situation to be in for them, but they handled it perfectly, trying to keep him calm and trying to make sure he understands they're going to get him out of there. I think one of them even said, it's okay if you go to sleep. So it's obvious they're trying to keep him calm and get him out of that situation.
Okay, when we come back, Dr. Jason Piccolo, Ted Golden staying with us. We've got a video out of Los Angeles, LAPD. It's a vicious robbery, but there's a pizza guy standing right there, and the quick exit he makes is, I don't know, I'm sort of obsessed with it tonight. And with all these guns and danger, he just senses it and gets out of harm's way. We'll talk about it next. Welcome back to our Crime Time segment. Still with us, Dr. Jason Piccolo and Ted Golden. Next video from the West Coast, Los Angeles, LAPD. It's a vicious attack here, but you've got a pizza guy who walks away from a man being robbed. Unbelievable. I guess you got out of the Lamborghini, and there was a high-end target. How are police going to track down these suspects? And then I also wanted to ask you, Ted, about the pizza guy, seriously, because he's kind of in the middle of this whole thing. This guy's being robbed. I think he made the right choice just to get out of harm's way there. He could have ended up in the middle of it.
Well, yes and no. Some of us should take it seriously and try to help. I think that would be the wise thing to do. But again, this is a crime of opportunity. It's well lit. It's in front of a building that really has video. They stopped their vehicles in the middle of the street. They probably got tags off of it. These guys are probably on their cell phones. Don't be surprised if somebody's not recording it and actually posts it. But this is a crime of opportunity and a dangerous situation for the pizza guy because he's right in the middle of it.
Yeah, Dr. Jason Piccolo, your thoughts about this entire situation? The victim seems to be fighting back.
Well, for one, the pizza guy did the right thing. Get out of there. Get away from the violence, especially if they're brandishing weapons. But here's the deal. If you're getting mugged and someone asks you for your keys or your wallet or anything, give it to them, especially when they're brandishing weapons and there's 2-on-1. A high-end vehicle, wallet, a phone, nothing is worth your life. So just, hey, you know what? But like Ted said, this was a crime of opportunity. So they may have other malicious intent. That might be their modus operandi, was where they beat someone, take their stuff, and then leave. So I don't understand. But just seriously, just give your keys, give your wallet, let them go, live to fight another day.
Absolutely. Unbelievable. As you said, well-lit situation, too. And he pulled up right in front of his building. He's like right there. He has like 15 feet to walk, and it was 15 feet too far that night. All right, final video tonight comes to us from Philadelphia. And this one, middle of the street, you've got a shooting. You've got then this violent car crash of a stolen car. It's a chaotic situation. Let's take a look. All right, next step in this investigation, Dr. Jason Piccolo.
The next step is to canvass the doctors, canvass the hospitals and everything, because someone likely did get hurt in this, and they're going to need follow-up care. The other thing, too, is I know Philly. It's a cash-strapped agency, but if they could pull DNA from the vehicle, depending on if this vehicle or anything else was tied to another crime and resources are available, because if in an accident like that, someone had to have left some sort of bodily fluid, whether it be blood or saliva or something else.
Ted Golden, your thoughts?
That's a high rate of speed. They're probably doing 60 miles an hour or more. Clearly not an experienced driver because of the way they hit that truck. So I'm guessing teenagers that live in the area or that frequent the area, and like he said, they left some body fluids in there. If they want to taste the scene and get a crime scene, you need another bit to brush that place real well to find out what's in there. They could probably find those folks if they've committed crimes.
All right, Ted, I have to ask you, you're heading to your high school reunion. You're on your way. Did your classmates vote you most likely to be a narc? Did they think you were going into law enforcement? Did you know back then what you were going to do?
No, but they did give me the award for the most unusual employment. And my sister planes airplanes, so they got me. Got me good.
Fantastic. Well, great to have you both here. Have fun at the reunion, Ted. Dr. Jason Piccolo, great to see you as well. We'll see you again really, really soon. All right, folks, we've got a little bit more business to take care of tonight. Each night, we end the show by profiling a missing child. So I want you to stay with us for just a few minutes here so you can see the face of this missing child and can make the call if you see.
Before.
All right, folks. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning. Ted Rowland's right here in your front row seat to justice, taking you inside the courtroom for that trial in New Jersey. In the meantime, take a look. 15 years old. Look at that smile. Urbano Cinto Ruiz. February 9th, 2022. He's been missing from Renton, Washington. Again, 15 years old. If you see Urbano, please pick up the phone, call 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Renton Police Department. Let's see if we can get Urbano back home. Thank you for watching. I'm Vinnie Politan. Have a great night. And as always, don't forget to hug the kids.
I see you have your Breakfast of Champions there with you.
Janet McDermott planned to stop by her office only briefly on the morning of October 15th, 1985.
Have a nice day, Steve.
She had a number of business appointments around Salt Lake City that day. Moments later, an explosion rocked the building, killing her.